In this lesson, you will learn the principles involved in outcomes-based education. Because of globalization and the need for these graduates to adopt the changing demands of the industries, not to mention their mobility as well as international accreditation requirements, the educational landscape has shifted from the traditional paradigm to the use of outcomes-based framework. Education now must answer two important questions. First, what do education institutions want their students to become or to be able to do? Second, how are these students helped achieve their expected outcomes? So first, let us discuss about what is an outcome. So an outcome is an end product or result of something. If put in the context of education, outcome means the end result of the entire learning experience of a student. Here, the student will be able to demonstrate all the needed skills and abilities that will make him perform his future job role. For instance, if one is an engineering student, after finishing the 4-year course, he must be able to demonstrate the engineering skills and knowledge he has supposedly acquired. Also, if one is an English studies student, for example, after graduation, this learner must be able to show his knowledge in English studies, perhaps through research, English teaching, speaking, or writing. Another example is our class whereby you are expected to learn what outcome-based instruction is. The teacher must set a learning outcome that at the end of the topic. You as students must be able to demonstrate your knowledge on the concepts of OBE, and this knowledge may be manifested through your performance in a well-designed assessment tools. In other words, there must be some concrete and measurable indicators to determine if you have achieved these outcomes or not. So next question, what is an outcomes-based education, or what does OBE means? So outcomes-based education, according to the father of OBE, Speedy, outcomes-based education is a framework that focuses and organizes everything in the educational system around what is essential for all the students to be able to be successful at the end of their learning experience. So that at the end of the learning experience, the student will have achieved these sets of goals or outcomes. So this is the same concept we are seeing in the diagram, in the dartboard. So in the picture, the dartboard, which is the target, is the goal or outcome, while the dart is the design teaching activities that will be activated in order to hit the targets. So if the outcomes are not clearly spelled, all activities may not directly hit the targets, which may result in wasted time, energy, and resources. So therefore, careful planning and execution are the key to a successful OBE implementation. In other words, that everything in Speedy's definition, which includes all aspects in the educational process such as curriculum, resources such as classroom, curricular and extracurricular activities, everything, assessment, strategy, activities, materials, should be aligned to the projected outcomes of the learners. So therefore, to simply put it, before any teaching activity is started, the teacher must first set the outcomes that he intends his learners to manage. To simply put it, before any teaching learning activity is started, the teacher must first set the outcomes or the targets or objectives that he intends his learners to manifest. This is the guiding principle of an outcome-based instruction or education. So what are the two types of outcomes? First, we have intermediate outcomes, also referred to as instructional outcomes. These are the qualities, competencies, and skills that the graduates have achieved after finishing either a program, course, or learning outcomes. Some of the examples would be ability to solve mathematical problems, competence in speaking and writing, or ability to do a research project. The second type of outcomes is the deferred outcomes. These are abilities, competencies, or skills that the graduates may have achieved or acquired several years after completing the degree program. So might be during their professional work. So what are the levels of outcomes-based instruction? The implementation of outcomes-based education lies in the clear alignment of the institutional outcomes, the program outcomes, the course outcomes, the learning outcomes, and its alignment to all assessment goals. Therefore, it is necessary that these OBE levels must be consistent with one another. So what are institutional outcomes? These are the wider or the widest outcomes. These are statements that express what the graduates of a certain institution are expected to become after graduation, narrowed in by the program outcomes. So these programs outcomes are specific to the particular degree. So for example, outcomes for education, outcomes for agricultural students, program outcomes for engineering students, program outcomes for HM students. These are statements that express the students' outcomes after completing a certain degree or program. So from these program outcomes, we tailor our course outcomes. So what are course outcomes? Course outcomes are some more specific than the program outcomes. These are statements that indicate what students should be able to do or perform after taking a specific course or subject. So within a program, take note there are courses or subjects. So course outcomes, these are outcomes based on the subject. Narrowing down, we have the learning outcomes. So each course outcomes have specific learning outcomes. So what are learning outcomes? Learning outcomes are statements that explain what students can do after a specific lesson or topic. So first, you need to think of the most or the general outcomes. These are the institutional outcomes. Narrowing it down, specifying them, you will need to produce the program outcomes, or you need to think about the program outcomes. Then consider the course outcomes, then the more specific ones, the learning outcome.
So those are the 4 different outcomes: the institutional outcomes, program outcomes, the course learning outcomes, and the student learning outcomes. Thank you for watching.